This ordinary dog becomes a superhero every night. But his owner has no idea. You won't believe me. But every night while you're asleep, I'm not just your dog. I'm something else entirely. That's the line I would say if dogs could talk. But of course, my owner Ethan never hears it. He just scratches behind my ears every morning, smiles in that warm way he always has, and calls me by the name he gave me the day he adopted me. Scout. Before we begin, welcome to Paws Society. Thank you so much for watching our videos. It truly helps us when you like and subscribe. And if you have a story to share, make sure to comment below and include where you're from. Thank you and have a great day. I live with Ethan in a quiet neighborhood in Colorado, where the houses sit far enough apart that you can hear the wind brushing through the trees on cold nights. It's peaceful, simple, and exactly the kind of place where no one expects a dog to have a secret life. Ethan, who works as a carpenter in town, is tall with sandy hair and a relaxed way of moving, like someone who has learned how to take things slow. He lives alone except for me. He adopted me from a local shelter 3 years ago, and since then I've been his shadow and his protector in ways he'll never fully know. Every morning starts the same way. Ethan wakes up early, usually before the sun rises, because he likes to get ahead of his work. I hear the alarm, then the soft groan he always makes as he sits up. He rubs his eyes, pats his chest, and calls, "Scout, come here, buddy." I leap onto the bed, tail moving fast, and he wraps his arms around me in a tight hug. He thinks I'm excited because breakfast is coming, and I am. But if he knew what I'd done the night before, he might hug me even tighter. Ethan opens the curtains and lets the soft morning light settle across the room. The hardwood floors glow. The cold air from outside floats in through the small crack in the window he always forgets to close. He yawns, stretches, and gets ready for another day. Meanwhile, I lie on the rug, watching him, feeling proud that he sleeps peacefully, because I made sure of it. See, Ethan thinks I'm just an ordinary dog. And during the day, I am. I nap, chase squirrels, play fetch in the backyard, and follow the same daily routine any other dog would. But at night, when the lights go out and the neighborhood turns quiet, I become something different, something special, something only I know how to be. It's not magic, not really. It's more like a calling, one I didn't understand at first. But over time, I realized what I was meant to do. Ethan leaves for work at around 6 in the morning. He always kneels to scratch my head one last time and says, "Watch the house, Scout. I'll be back before dinner." And I always bark softly, as if answering, "I will." When the door closes, I sit by the window until his truck disappears down the street. Only then do I settle into my daytime routine. During the day, I act perfectly normal. I greet the mail carrier, a woman named Mrs. Thompson, who always laughs and says, "Oh, Scout, you're too friendly for your own good." She doesn't know the truth either. I watch the neighborhood kids ride their bikes. I nap in the sunlight. I wander through the yard, sniffing the cold air. To anyone who watches, I'm just a regular dog living a regular life. But when nighttime comes, something inside me wakes up long before Ethan realizes anything unusual about his night. After dinner, when Ethan sits on the couch to watch television or reads a book in the warm glow of the lamp beside him, I sit nearby, listening. Not to him, but to everything else. There's a shift in the world after sunset, one that humans don't hear, but dogs do. Most dogs ignore it. I can't. Ethan never stays up too late. By 9:30, sometimes 10, he stands, stretches again, and whispers, "All right, Scout. Time for bed." I follow him upstairs. He brushes his teeth, rinses, sighs, and collapses onto the mattress. Within 15 minutes, he's asleep. And that's when my night begins. My eyes open fully, alert in the darkness. My ears twitch to sounds no one else notices. The creak of a branch outside, the distant hum of a car on the highway, the faint scurry of small animals through the yard. I hop off the bed silently, landing without a sound. I walk to the window and look out. The moon hangs above the neighborhood, casting silver light across rooftops and lawns. And then the shift happens. It starts as a familiar warmth, spreading through my chest. My heartbeat quickens. My muscles feel lighter. My senses, already sharp during the day, sharpen even more. I feel energy move through me, not the kind that makes you want to run or bark, but something deeper, something with purpose. I am no longer just Scout the dog, not at night. And yet, Ethan has no idea. The first time it happened was almost 2 years ago. It began on a night like any other. Ethan was asleep, and I was lying at the foot of the bed when I heard a strange sound from outside. A soft crying. Not human. Not animal. Something else. A fear-filled sound that made the fur on my back rise. I stood, walked slowly to the window, and looked out. The neighborhood was dark, quiet, and still. Yet the sound came again. Unable to ignore it, I nudged the door with my nose. Ethan always left it slightly open for me, so it creaked as I pushed it and slipped into the hallway. Down the stairs I went, each step careful. I stopped at the front door and pressed my ear to it. The crying continued. And then, as if fate had chosen that moment, everything inside me changed. A surge of strength flowed through me. My vision brightened. The world outside the door felt clearer, closer, almost like I could feel it in my bones. Without fully understanding what was happening, I pawed at the lock. It clicked open. The doorknob moved. And somehow, I still don't know how, I managed to open the door. I padded out into the night. The air was colder than usual. The wind carried the scent of something frightened and small. I followed it down the driveway, across the yard, and toward the old wooden shed behind the neighbor's house where an abandoned fox kit had gotten trapped. The little creature was trembling, stuck under a broken board, unable to free itself. I gently nudged the board aside and watched the tiny fox scramble out, wide-eyed and shaking. It looked up at me, then away, and disappeared into the bushes. That night, something awakened inside me. A sense of responsibility, like I was meant to help those who couldn't help themselves. And since then, I've done it every night. Ethan never notices when I leave. I always return before he wakes. I make sure of it, and I always come back without a sound, curling up beside him like nothing happened. He has never suspected a thing. My nightly tasks began small, helping lost animals find their way back home, scaring off raccoons digging into trash bags, guiding small birds away from roads. But then things grew bigger, more important, things that no ordinary dog could do. One time, I found a lost child wandering near the woods behind the neighborhood late at night. The boy couldn't have been more than 5 years old, barefoot, shivering, and confused. I followed him quietly, nudged him gently, and guided him back toward the lights of his house. His parents, 2 white Americans who lived across the street from us, didn't know how he'd found his way back. They woke early in the morning and discovered him sleeping safely in his bed. They still tell people it was a miracle. It wasn't. It was me. But letting anyone know wouldn't make things better. It would only make things complicated. So I keep my secret. Tonight, like every night, The change begins again as Ethan sleeps upstairs, unaware. The moon shines brightly across the neighborhood, casting long shadows across the street. I step off the rug, feeling that familiar energy. My paws feel light. My hearing sharpens to every sound, both near and distant. I step through the house, moving quietly. I check each window, scanning the street. I listen for any sign of distress. The world at night is full of voices, but most humans never hear them. A dog like me does. And tonight, I hear something new. A noise that doesn't belong. It's coming from far in the distance, beyond the typical reach of a normal dog's hearing. But for me, nothing is too far. The sound is soft, but urgent. A cry. Not animal. Not the familiar call of a lost creature or a wandering soul. This is different. Higher in pitch, tense, human, and young. My heart races, not from fear, but from purpose. I push the front door gently, nudging it open as quietly as I can. The crisp Colorado air fills my lungs. The wind carries scents from miles away, scents only I can separate, decode, and understand. And tonight, the air carries the scent of someone who needs help. I follow it. My paws move quickly but silently across the yard, down the driveway, and onto the sidewalk. The streetlights flicker. The moon glows through a thin layer of clouds. My eyes adjust instantly to the dark. The night is my ally, my space, my time. As I move, the streets become quieter. Houses give way to open fields. The scent grows stronger. The faint cry comes again, a bit louder this time. I pick up speed. After several minutes, I reach the edge of the field. There's a line of pine trees that marks the start of an old walking trail. It hasn't been used much since the town built a new park on the other side of the highway. Most people have forgotten this place exists, but I haven't. I know every corner of this town, every inch of the woods, every hidden path. The cry comes again, this time much closer. I enter the trail, nose to the ground, moving with purpose. The scent leads me toward a small clearing, and there, sitting on the cold ground with her arms wrapped around her knees, is a little girl. She's white American, maybe 8 or 9 years old, wearing pajamas and mismatched socks. Her blonde hair is messy from the wind. Her eyes are red from crying. She looks up when she hears my paws rustle through the grass. Her eyes widen, but not in fear, more in surprise. She wipes her cheeks with the back of her hand and whispers, "Hi." I approach slowly, lowering my head to show her I'm friendly. She reaches out a shaky hand and touches my fur. You're someone's dog, right?" she whispers. I sit beside her, nudging her gently with my nose. She sniffles and looks around. "I don't know how I ended up here," she says softly. "I woke up and I didn't know where I was. I just kept walking because I thought I heard something calling me. But now I'm scared." I rest my head against her shoulder. She lets out a trembling breath and places her small hand on my back. "Can you help me?" she asks, voice shaky. I stand and look toward the direction she needs to go. Then I bark softly, encouraging her to get up. She hesitates at first, but then she stands and follows me. We walk together through the trees. I stay close to her, occasionally bumping her leg gently to guide her. She whispers questions sometimes. "Where are we? Do you know the way?" But I just keep walking, knowing she trusts me even without my answers. When we reach the edge of the field again, she gasps softly. In the distance, a small neighborhood sits under the moonlight. Lights glow from porches and windows. She recognizes one house immediately. That's mine," she whispers. She starts walking faster. occasionally glancing down at me as if to make sure I'm still there. I follow her to the end of her driveway, but I stop before reaching the porch. Her front door swings open, and her parents rush out. Both white Americans with worried expressions and tired eyes. Her mother, a woman with curly light brown hair, kneels and pulls the girl into her arms. "Where were you? We've been looking everywhere." The girl points back toward the field. "I got lost, but a dog helped me." Her mother looks around. "A dog?" I stay hidden in the shadows, watching. The girl scans the dark until her eyes meet mine. She gives me a small, grateful smile. I wag my tail once, slow and gentle. Then I turn and walk away. By the time I reach the main street again, the sky has shifted from deep blue to gray. Dawn isn't far. I hurry back home. My paws move faster on the pavement. The neighborhood slowly stirs awake. A few porch lights flicker on. A couple of morning joggers start their routine. I slip through the yard, push the door open quietly, and pad upstairs just as the first rays of light creep through the curtains. Ethan stirs. He rolls onto his side, eyes half open, and sees me lying on the rug where he thinks I spent the entire night. "Morning, Scout," he mumbles. "You sleep okay?" I wag my tail softly. He has no idea. And my story is only beginning. The morning after guiding the little girl home, I stayed curled up on the rug longer than usual. Not because I was tired. Dogs like me don't feel exhaustion quite the same way. But because I wanted to observe Ethan. Sometimes I wonder whether he might sense something different, even if he never says so. But he never does. He simply stretched, yawned, blinked at the sunlight touching the walls, and leaned over the edge of the bed to scratch behind my ears. "There you are, Scout," he said in that same warm voice. "Good boy." I wagged my tail because that was what a regular dog would do, and Ethan expected nothing else. He walked downstairs and I followed, pretending the night had been ordinary. He made coffee, scrambled eggs, toasted bread, and hummed softly as he moved around the small kitchen. I sat near the table, watching him sip from his favorite mug, the one with a mountain landscape painted across it. Ethan always said mornings were better with peace and quiet, and he believed I brought that calm into the house. If only he knew how much I did to protect that peace. After breakfast, he grabbed his jacket, which had a faint scent of sawdust from work, and patted my head. "All right, Scout. I'll be home by 6. Keep an eye on things." He always trusted me with the house, and he was right to. Once he left, I settled into my daytime routine. I napped, wandered through the backyard, and watched the neighbors go about their day. Nothing unusual happened, which was good. Some days were silent and uneventful, and I welcomed that. A peaceful day meant the night might be quiet too. But as the sun dipped behind the mountains and the sky darkened to deep blue, I felt that familiar stirring. My purpose always woke with the night. Dinner with Ethan passed as it always did. He talked occasionally, mostly about work, the new deck he was finishing for a client, the stubborn nail gun he kept meaning to replace, the funny moment when his friend Mark spilled his entire lunch across the shop floor. I listened. Dogs hear more than humans think. After dinner, he watched a show on television for a while, laughing at a few parts, and glancing at me when something reminded him of dogs. "You're the only audience I need," he joked softly. When he finally headed upstairs and drifted off to sleep, I waited just long enough to be sure he was dreaming before I stood, stretched my legs, and felt the shift. My body felt lighter again, my mind sharper, and the night clearer. I walked to the window first, scanning the neighborhood. But tonight felt different, not because something bad was happening yet, but because the air carried a sense of anticipation. It felt like the world was holding its breath. I nudged the front door open and stepped into the night. The stars were bright, scattered across the sky like tiny sparks. The street was still. The wind carried scents from across the town. Pine, cold earth, distant fireplaces, the faint smell of dinner drifting from the last house whose lights were still on. I took one step forward, then froze. A sound echoed softly from far away. Not a cry this time, not fear, not the light rustling of an animal caught somewhere it shouldn't be. This sound was different. It was rhythmic, sharp, repeated. Wood striking wood. Then, voices. Multiple voices. I tilted my head, listening closer. The sound came from the direction of the old community center, a place humans rarely visited anymore since the town had built a newer, bigger one across town. But during the night, things that humans forget often become places of importance for the ones who remain awake. I quickened my pace, paws tapping lightly against the ground. As I approached the community center, the sounds grew louder. Voices drifted through the air, high, youthful, excited. Children, or more accurately, a group of young kids, maybe in their early teens. Kids shouldn't be out this late, especially not alone. I moved silently toward the chain-link fence that surrounded the back of the property. The gate hung crookedly on its hinges, as it had for years. I slipped through. Lights flickered on behind the large building. I crept closer, circling around the side until I could see clearly. A group of 5 kids stood around the back lot holding makeshift wooden swords. They were white American kids from the neighborhood, familiar faces I had seen many times during the day. They had pulled old boards and sticks from behind the dumpsters and were swinging them playfully at each other, laughing. In front of them was an old wooden structure, a raised platform left behind from community theater productions, years ago. They had dragged a few pieces of scenery out as well, creating a messy but imaginative battlefield. They weren't afraid or lost. They were just doing what kids do, letting their imaginations run free. But kids out late at night without supervision attract the attention of things they shouldn't. And as I sniffed the air, I smelled something strange, not dangerous, not yet, but enough to make the fur on my back rise slightly. Coyotes. A small pack, maybe 3. They had been prowling the outskirts of town for months, searching for easy meals near trash cans or small animals that wandered too far from home. Under normal circumstances, coyotes wouldn't approach humans, especially groups of them. But these kids were loud, distracted, and unaware of the quiet set of eyes watching them from the trees beyond the fence. I stepped closer. One of the kids swung his stick sword too wildly, stumbled backward, and fell with a loud thump. His friends burst into laughter, and he laughed too, brushing grass from his jeans. It was then that one of the coyotes crept several feet closer, drawn by the noise. I moved quickly, slipping around the corner of the building and positioning myself between the kids and the trees. The young animals paused when they saw me. Their ears twitched, their bodies tensed. Coyotes are smart. They don't pick unnecessary fights. They study. They wait. They calculate. I stood firm, head low, tail steady, muscles ready, not to fight, but to send a message. This was not their hunting ground tonight. One coyote took a step forward. I took 2. The coyote hesitated. The leader of the small pack seemed to recognize something in me, something that wasn't just another dog guarding a yard. I stepped forward again, slowly, steadily, until the pack turned as one and retreated into the trees. I stood watch for several seconds, listening for any sign they might return, but they didn't. The kids, still laughing and playing, had no idea what had just happened. One boy lowered his stick sword and frowned. "Did you guys hear something?" a taller girl asked. "Probably just Scout," the boy said, recognizing me. I walked toward them calmly, letting myself seem like any other neighborhood dog who had wandered in to investigate. "Hey, Scout!" they called softly, running over to pet me. They didn't need to know why I was there. They just needed to go home before real danger found them. I nudged the girl's leg, then nudged again harder until she laughed. "I think he wants us to leave," she joked. "Maybe he's hungry," another boy said. I nudged again, more insistently this time, stepping back toward the gate. The kids looked at each other. "Maybe we should go home," one boy murmured. "It's late. My mom will freak out if she wakes up and I'm gone," the girl said. They all nodded. Okay, Scout. We're going." I walked behind them through the gate, escorting them out of the lot. They walked down the sidewalk together, talking quietly now. When they reached their street, they broke off in different directions. I watched each one reach their front porches safely. Only then did I turn back toward town. The night still held purpose for me. There was more to do. I walked beyond the community center and took the long route back home. Not because I needed to, but because the night often reveals more when you listen carefully. The wind carried the smell of rain approaching, soft, clean, distant. The streetlights buzzed faintly. I stopped when I reached the hill overlooking the old railway line. The tracks had been unused for years, except for maintenance vehicles that came through twice a month. But tonight, as I stood at the top of the hill, I heard a low humming sound, a soft vibration, metal shifting. Something was on the track. I ran toward the sound. The air warmed slightly as I approached, an odd detail, but not impossible. Heat lingered near metal even after sunset, but this wasn't leftover warmth. It was fresh. I approached the tracks and saw something unusual. A maintenance cart was stalled halfway across the small bridge that connected the two sides of town. It was a narrow bridge, long and old, made of steel beams and wooden planks. The cart sat crookedly, its front wheel lodged between boards that had splintered with age. Beneath the cart, something moved. Someone. I smelled human scent, faint fear, sweat, and oil from the machinery. I stepped closer carefully and saw a man, an older white American man with a weathered face, gray hair, and a heavy coat. He was trapped beneath the side of the cart, caught by the weight of the machinery. "Help!" he whispered weakly when he saw me, though he didn't seem to expect a dog to do much. But he didn't know me, not truly. I inspected the cart quickly. The wheel was stuck between two broken boards, making the cart tilt at a dangerous angle. If it shifted even slightly, the full weight could press down harder. The man had one arm free, but the rest of his body was pinned. "It gave out," he whispered. "The wood, it snapped. His voice shook. He winced. I stepped back and looked at the planks. The bridge had needed repairs for years. Ethan had once commented about it, saying the town should have fixed it sooner. Now I saw why. I pressed my front paws against the wooden plank nearest the wheel. It wobbled. The cart shifted slightly. The man gasped softly. I needed leverage. I moved behind the cart, studying the angle. If I could lift the back end just enough for the man to pull himself free, it might work. The cart wasn't overly large, but for any regular dog, it would have been impossible. For me, it was uncertain, but possible. I crouched low, bracing my body. then pushed upward with my shoulder and neck. The metal groaned. The cart lifted slowly, very slowly. The man's eyes widened. "What? How?" I pushed harder. The back of the cart rose another inch. "Okay," he whispered breathlessly. I can move." He pulled himself slowly from beneath the side, wincing, but determined. I held the cart up until I saw him roll onto the planks beside me. Once he was clear, I let the cart drop gently back into place. The bridge shook, but nothing snapped this time. The man lay on his side for several seconds, catching his breath. Then he sat up, staring at me. "You saved me," he whispered in disbelief. I stepped forward and nudged his hand gently. He reached out and stroked my head. "Thank you. I don't know how but thank you." I stayed with him until he stood. He favored one leg, but seemed able to walk. He started toward the end of the bridge, turning occasionally to look at me with wonder. When he reached the dirt path leading back into town, he whispered, "Maybe there really are miracles." I watched him go until he disappeared. Then I turned back toward home. The town felt calmer now. Rain clouds shifted over the mountains, soft and gray. The night grew quieter. I made my way home, slipping through the backyard and into the house just before the sky brightened with the first hint of sunrise. Ethan slept, unaware. I curled up at the foot of the bed and closed my eyes. My purpose was fulfilled, for now. But I knew the nights ahead would bring more, far more than even I could imagine yet. The morning after helping the man on the bridge, I woke up before Ethan. My body didn't ache, not even after lifting the heavy maintenance cart the night before. Instead, I felt the same calm sense of readiness that always settled over me when dawn arrived. The sunlight slipped through the curtains and warmed the rug where I lay. Ethan stirred and reached down to pet me, his fingers brushing through my fur. "There's my boy," he said softly. "You always wake up happy." He had no idea how much truth sat behind those words. Being able to help others every night filled me with something I couldn't explain, something more important than sleep or rest. I wagged my tail gently as he got up, stretched, and walked downstairs to start making breakfast. The scent of bacon and eggs drifted up the stairs a few minutes later. I followed him down and settled beside the table while he cooked. He hummed a melody he'd been listening to for days now. Ethan always hummed in the morning. It was one of the things I liked most about him. He finished cooking, poured himself a cup of coffee, and sat down. "I think I'll take you for a walk this morning before work," he said, glancing at me with a small smile. "I owe you that. You've been so patient lately." I tilted my head, pretending to be surprised, though inside I felt a warm flicker of happiness. I always enjoyed our morning walks. They grounded me. They reminded me that I was more than the protector of the night. I was Ethan's dog, his friend, his loyal companion. After he finished eating, he grabbed my leash from the hook beside the door. "Ready?" he asked. I barked softly. We walked through the neighborhood as the sun climbed into the sky, warming the sidewalks and rooftops. The air smelled fresh, carrying the scent of dew on the grass and the soft fragrance of pine drifting from the mountains. As we walked, a few neighbors waved from their porches or driveways. They all knew Ethan well, and they all loved seeing me. Mrs. Thompson, the mail carrier, spotted us as she loaded letters into her truck. "Good morning, Ethan." "Good morning, Scout," she called with a cheerful grin. Ethan waved back. "Morning, Mrs. Thompson." I wagged my tail as she walked closer and scratched my head. "Such a good dog," she said. "Always so well behaved." Ethan laughed. He definitely makes life easier." She nodded, then looked at him thoughtfully. "You know, dogs like Scout. They just know things. They sense things before people do." Ethan smiled. "Maybe you're right." I looked up at him briefly. He had no idea how right she really was. After our walk, Ethan took a quick shower, changed into clothes that smelled faintly of sawdust and fresh wood, and grabbed his car keys. He knelt down beside me and patted my head. "All right, buddy, watch the house for me. I'll be back around 6. I barked softly, and he stepped outside. The moment the door closed behind him, I settled near the window and watched his car roll down the driveway. The day would be quiet until he returned, as it always was. Hours passed peacefully. I napped in the sun, sniffed the corners of the yard, and listened to the familiar sounds of the neighborhood. Children riding bicycles, a distant lawnmower, birds singing from the fence posts. Peace. But the night would tell a different story. It always did. After dinner, after television, after Ethan brushed his teeth and lay down in bed, the shift began. My senses sharpened, my attention tightened, the night breathed, and I stepped into it. Tonight, the moon was thin and pale, hanging low in the sky. I walked down the driveway and paused, sniffing the air. Instantly, a scent caught my attention. Not fear, not distress. Something else. Something unfamiliar. Something that didn't belong to our neighborhood. I followed it. It led me past the row of houses, across the small patch of woods behind the grocery store, and toward the highway. The closer I got, the clearer the scent became. Metallic, sharp, foreign. The wind shifted and carried another scent with it. Smoke. But not smoke from a fire. Smoke from machinery. Cars, engines, and underneath it all, something faintly sweet, like syrup mixed with cold air. I had never smelled anything like it before. I reached the highway and stopped at the edge of the trees. The road stretched out long and empty. Except for a single car parked on the shoulder, its hazard lights blinked softly. The engine was off. The hood was open. A man stood beside the car, staring down at the engine with a frustrated expression on his face. He was tall, with short brown hair and a jacket zipped up to his chin. His breath puffed into the cold night air. "Come on," he muttered, leaning forward to inspect the wires. "Don't do this to me tonight." As I stepped closer, the smell became stronger. Something in the car was leaking. Oil, maybe, or coolant. But there was something else, too. A faint sound. A soft, rhythmic tapping. Not from the engine, from the trunk. I moved around the side of the car, keeping quiet. The tapping continued. Steady, gentle, almost like someone trapped inside was knocking. I sniffed the trunk and immediately smelled something new. Another human, and young. I stiffened. The man slammed the hood down in frustration. "This is just perfect," he said. He didn't notice me yet, but he would soon. I lowered my body and watched him silently. He walked to the driver's side door, pulled it open, and began rummaging through the glove compartment. The tapping continued. I needed to see who was inside, but I couldn't open the trunk by myself, not without making a sound. So I made one on purpose. I stepped out onto the gravel. The stones crunched beneath my paws. The man whipped around. "What the?" His eyes landed on me. He blinked, then sighed. "A dog?" "Seriously?" He took a step toward me. "Go home, boy. This isn't..." The tapping grew louder. His head snapped toward the trunk. He froze. He stepped closer, listening. The tapping stopped. I could hear the faint sound of breathing inside the trunk. Shaky, nervous. The man took a slow breath. "You weren't supposed to hear that," he whispered. The tone of his voice changed. Darker, lower. His eyes narrowed as he turned back toward me. "You need to go." But I wasn't going anywhere. I positioned myself between him and the trunk. His jaw tightened. I said, "Go." He stepped forward, raising his hand, not to strike me, but to scare me away. Instead, I barked. Loud. Sharp. Powerful. The man flinched and stumbled back. "What is wrong with you?" he yelled. But I didn't break eye contact. I barked again. And again. Each bark echoed across the highway. Lights flickered in the distance. A car turned onto the road from a nearby exit. The man panicked. He rushed to the trunk, fumbled with the key, and tried to open it before anyone arrived. I lunged, not with teeth, not to hurt him, but to stop him. I slammed my body into his leg, knocking him sideways. He fell with a startled cry, dropping the keys. The car approaching slowed. Its headlights lit up the shoulder. The man scrambled to his feet and tried to reach the keys before I could block him again. I barked louder. The car pulled over. A white American couple inside rolled down their window. "Is everything okay?" the woman called out. The man near the trunk froze. My bark grew sharper. The couple stepped out of their car, concern etched across their faces. "Sir, are you all right?" the man asked. The stranger forced a smile. Yes, just car trouble. Dog startled me." The couple approached slowly. "We heard barking. It sounded urgent. Is your dog okay?" "Not my dog," the man said quickly. He reached for the keys again, but I moved in front of them. The couple noticed. "Why is he standing there like that?" the woman asked softly. The man stiffened. "I don't know. He's just—" A soft knock came from the trunk. Everyone froze. The woman gasped. "What was that?" The man's face drained of color. "Nothing. The car. It makes noises sometimes." Another knock, louder. The couple stepped back. "That's not the car," the man whispered. The woman pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the police." The stranger panicked. "Wait, you don't need to—" But it was too late. She had already dialed. The man looked at me, fury flashing in his eyes, but then headlights appeared in the distance. Another car approaching. And another. The stranger looked around frantically, then bolted toward the trees. I chased after him, not to harm him, but to slow him down. I cut him off once, twice, forcing him to stumble. By then, the man from the couple had run toward us. "Hey, stop!" The stranger shoved past him and sprinted into the woods. I chased only far enough to see him disappear between the trees. I knew the police would handle the rest. When I returned to the car, the couple stood beside the trunk, waiting nervously. The woman paused her call when she saw me and whispered, "Good boy. You're a very good boy." The police arrived within minutes. They opened the trunk and found a young white American boy, maybe 10 years old, frightened but unharmed. He had been reported missing from a nearby town hours earlier. "It's okay," one officer whispered gently as he helped the boy out of the trunk. "You're safe now." The couple explained what happened, mentioning my barking, my stance, the man fleeing into the woods. "This dog saved that boy," the woman said firmly. The officers nodded in agreement. One knelt to pet me. "Looks like we owe you a thanks, Scout," he whispered. I stayed with them until the ambulance arrived, and the boy was safe. Then I slipped away quietly before anyone could wonder why a dog was wandering alone at night. I made my way through the woods, retracing my steps, making sure the stranger had not returned. I didn't find him. The forest was silent, except for owls hooting softly in the distance. I turned toward home. The wind had shifted again. A new scent drifted through the trees, one familiar and comforting. Ethan's shampoo, his soap, his skin. By the time I reached our yard, I saw him standing on the porch in his pajama pants and a light jacket. He rubbed his eyes when he spotted me. "There you are," he said, relief in his voice. "You scared me, buddy. You were gone when I woke up." I trotted toward him. He knelt and wrapped his arms around me. "Where did you go?" he whispered. I licked his hand. He smiled softly and scratched my ears. "I don't know how you got out," he said, "but I'm glad you're back." He didn't question it further. He didn't look for answers. Ethan had always believed dogs were mysterious in small ways. He never suspected the truth. He led me inside, poured fresh water into my bowl, and watched me drink. "Tomorrow," he said gently, "you're staying close." I nuzzled his hand. The night wasn't over yet, but it quieted. I settled near the rug, letting Ethan go back upstairs. I listened to the house settle. The wind rattled the fence gently. Rain clouds drifted overhead again. My night wasn't complete. Something still tugged at me. Something subtle. Something quietly calling me. So I waited until Ethan was deeply asleep again. Then I lifted my head and listened. A soft sound came from the woods behind our house. Not a cry, not a call for help. Something else. A rustling, a low groan. I left the house quietly and walked toward the trees. The forest was dark, but darkness never bothered me. I walked deeper until I saw something unusual. A deer stood near a fallen tree, its leg caught between a tangle of branches. It wasn't injured, just stuck. It panicked when it saw me, but when I circled the tree slowly, it calmed. Animals always understood me, even though they couldn't speak. I pushed the branch aside gently with my body. The deer pulled free and bounded into the trees. Only then did I rest. I lay on the cool earth for several minutes, listening to the subtle sounds of the forest. Everything felt balanced, calm, safe. I returned home and slipped inside before the sky brightened. Ethan never stirred. I curled up at the foot of his bed and closed my eyes. The world was safe for now. But something in the distance, a feeling, a shift, a whisper, told me greater challenges were coming. And I would be ready. The morning after the night of the highway rescue and the quiet moment in the woods, I woke before Ethan again. The sun was barely rising, soft orange light slowly spreading across the sky, illuminating the corners of the bedroom in a slow, peaceful bloom. I stretched on the rug, quietly shaking off the final traces of night. Ethan stirred a few moments later. He stretched, groaned softly the way he always did, and then leaned over to pet my head. His hand brushed my fur in calm, warm strokes. "Morning, Scout," he whispered. "You're up early again." I wagged my tail gently, careful not to seem too alert. He didn't know what I had done the night before, nor did he need to. His world was better without that weight. He got ready for the day, humming as he opened the curtains. The sunlight painted the room in gold. The house felt warm, safe, and quiet, just the way I liked it when he was awake. While Ethan prepared breakfast, the smell of sizzling bacon filled the kitchen. He moved around the counter with his usual morning calm. I sat near his feet, listening to his soft footsteps and the familiar scrape of utensils against the pan. "You always know when it's breakfast time," he said with a smile, as he set down a small piece of bacon for me. "But not too much, all right? I don't want you to get spoiled." I ate it slowly, even though excitement bubbled inside me, not from the food, from the sense that the night ahead would bring new purpose. After breakfast, Ethan grabbed his jacket and keys. "Same routine today," he said, crouching down to scratch behind my ears. "Watch the house. Keep out of trouble." He grinned. "Not that you ever get into trouble." I nuzzled his hand softly. He patted my head one more time before stepping outside and locking the door. I sat at the window as he drove away. The day was calm. Hours passed quietly. A few birds perched on the fence. A jogger passed by. A delivery truck rumbled down the street. The world outside felt peaceful. Yet something deep inside me knew the peace wouldn't last. By the time Ethan came home later that evening, clouds had gathered over the mountains. The air felt heavy. Rain was coming. We ate dinner together, Ethan at the table, me sitting on the rug nearby. He talked about work again, about the deck he had finished earlier that day, and the new project he was starting. I listened carefully, taking comfort in the normalcy of his voice. After dinner, he watched television for a while, then read a book before finally heading upstairs to bed. The moment his breathing deepened and sleep took hold of him, the night inside me awakened once more. The shift began with that familiar warm stir in my chest, spreading outward like ripples across a pond. My senses sharpened, my hearing stretched far beyond the house. My sight adjusted instantly to the dim light. I stood from the rug and walked to the window. The world outside was still. Rain clouds covered the moon, turning the sky darker than usual. I nudged the door open and stepped outside. The wind carried scents across the neighborhood. Cold air, wet leaves, the distant smell of pine drifting down from the mountains. And beneath all that, something faint, something unusual. Fear. Not strong, not immediate, but there. I followed it. My paws moved silently across the wet grass and down the driveway. The neighborhood was quiet. Streetlights flickered. A few porch lights glowed faintly. As I moved through the streets, the scent of fear grew clearer. It came from the direction of the old elementary school, a building closed down 2 years ago when the town built a newer one closer to the highway. The old building sat at the top of a hill, partly hidden by trees. At night, it looked abandoned, dark, and forgotten. But tonight, something stirred there. I approached slowly. The gates around the schoolyard were slightly open, swaying gently in the wind. As I stepped through them, a soft sound echoed across the playground. A cry. It wasn't human. It wasn't animal. It was something in between, a frightened sound that tugged at my instincts. I followed it to the corner of the building. There, I found a small dog, a white American family's beagle from the neighborhood, one I had seen many times during the day. Her name was Daisy. She trembled near the old door of the school, pawing at the crack beneath it. When she saw me, her tail thumped weakly, but fear still clouded her scent. I walked closer and nudged her gently. She whined and pressed her nose to the bottom of the door again. Something was inside. I sniffed. The scent of a child drifted through the crack in the door. Young, scared, alone. Daisy pawed at the door once more. I pushed my shoulder against it. The wood creaked, groaned, then gave way just enough for me to slip inside. Daisy followed. The hallway inside was long and cold, illuminated only by faint moonlight slipping through the broken windows. Dust lay thick on the floors. Old student artwork still hung on the walls, faded and forgotten. The scent grew stronger as I walked. Daisy stayed close beside me. We reached a classroom at the far end of the hall. The door was shut. I could hear soft crying inside. I pawed the door. It didn't budge. I backed up, then pushed harder with my shoulder. The door shuddered, but remained closed. I tried again. This time, the old wood cracked. The door swung open slightly. Daisy squeezed through first. I followed. Inside, a young white American boy, maybe 9 or 10, sat curled in the corner, clutching a backpack to his chest. His face was streaked with tears. His clothes were damp from the rain. The moment he saw us, he gasped softly. Daisy? Daisy ran to him and pressed her body against his side. He hugged her tightly. I approached slowly. He looked at me with wide, frightened eyes. Hi. His voice trembled. I didn't know how to get out. I came in here because I thought I saw a light, but then the door closed and I couldn't open it. The window beside him was cracked open slightly, letting in cold air. That must have been the source of the faint light he'd seen. I walked to the door, nudged it open wider with my shoulder, then looked back at him. He understood. He grabbed Daisy's collar lightly and whispered, "Come on, let's go home." I led them down the hallway, past the peeling paint and broken floor tiles, until we reached the entrance. The wind outside had grown stronger. Rain dripped from the edges of the roof. The boy shivered. His house wasn't far. I guided him through the dark streets, keeping a steady pace to make sure he stayed close. Daisy stayed beside him, licking his hand every few steps to comfort him. When we finally reached his home, the porch light flicked on. His parents, 2 white Americans, burst through the door the moment they saw him. His mother fell to her knees and hugged him tightly, crying with relief. His father placed a hand on his shoulder, voice trembling as he said, "You scared us, son. Don't run off like that again." The boy nodded, still clinging to Daisy. "Scout helped me," he whispered, pointing at me. His father looked at me, eyes full of gratitude. "You're a good dog," he said quietly. "Thank you." I wagged my tail gently, then walked away before they could come closer. As I walked through the neighborhood, the scent of rain thickened in the air. Thunder rumbled faintly in the distance. I needed to return home before the storm grew stronger. But the night wasn't finished with me yet. As I neared the edge of the woods, another sound reached me. Loud, sharp, human. "Help!" The voice echoed through the trees. I sprinted toward it. The woods grew darker as I entered, rain dripping through the leaves. The scent of fear hit me instantly, a deep, raw fear that tightened the air. I pushed through bushes and branches until I reached a clearing. There, a tall white American man in his mid-30s stood beside a fallen tree. He held one hand against his knee, breathing heavily. His foot was stuck between 2 roots. "Anyone?" he shouted again, looking around frantically. When he saw me, his eyes widened. "A dog? Oh, thank goodness. Hey boy, please." I approached him slowly. He pointed at his trapped foot. "I can't get it out. It twisted when I fell. I've been shouting forever." He tried pulling his leg free again, but winced. I inspected the roots. They were thick and intertwined, but not impossible to move. I positioned myself beside them and pushed with my shoulder. The roots shifted slightly. The man gasped. "You're really trying. Okay, go again." I pushed harder. The roots gave a little more. The man pulled. His foot slipped free. He stumbled back and sat on the ground, breathing hard. "Thank you. I don't know how you did that, but thank you." Rain began to fall more heavily. I nudged his arm, urging him to stand. He got up slowly, wincing but able to walk. "My car is up the road," he said. "Follow me?" I walked beside him through the woods, keeping him steady as he limped along. When we reached the street, he shook his head in disbelief. "You're incredible," he whispered. "I owe you one." I watched him get into his car and drive away. Then I turned back toward home. The rain fell harder now. Thunder rumbled louder. I quickened my pace. When I reached our house, Ethan stood on the porch again, drenched from the rain. "Scout!" he called. "Where were you? Come on, Butchka buddy, get inside!" I ran to him. He opened the door and grabbed a towel to dry me off. "You keep sneaking out," he said, shaking his head. "Maybe I should put a lock on the door." He laughed softly, not realizing how futile that would be. He dried my fur carefully, then let me curl up beside him on the couch. "You're lucky you're cute," he said with a smile. But deep beneath my calm, I knew something else. The night wasn't finished with me, and the next night would be even more important. I could feel it in the shift of the wind, in the tremble of the earth, in the soft hum of the world around me. Challenges were coming, but I was ready. I always would be. The storm that had swept across the mountains the night before left the world washed clean by morning. The sky shone bright blue, the clouds drifting lazily as if exhausted from their long night of pouring rain. Sunlight streamed through the windows of the house, warming the hardwood floors and filling the kitchen with a golden glow. I lay on the rug near the back door, my body relaxed, but my senses quietly alert, always tuned to the subtle hum beneath the world's surface. Ethan walked into the kitchen, running a towel through his sandy hair. "Another early morning for you, huh?" he said with a smile. "You're starting to make me look lazy, Scout." I wagged my tail gently, and he chuckled, setting the towel aside. The smell of fresh coffee soon filled the air as he poured a cup, swirling a little cream into it before taking a long sip. He closed his eyes briefly, enjoying it the way he always did. "Days like this make the whole world feel quiet," he said softly. I watched him move around the kitchen with that familiar calmness he carried. He cracked eggs into a pan, humming a soft tune under his breath. He didn't know the storm had kept me busy until almost dawn. He didn't know about the frightened boy in the abandoned school, or the man trapped beneath the roots in the woods. He didn't know how many times I had slipped out into the storm, checking and rechecking every part of the neighborhood to make sure no one else was in danger. He just smiled at me, assuming I had slept peacefully all night. After breakfast, he knelt beside me and patted my head. "Today's going to be a long one for me at work," he said, "but I'll try to be home early. Think you can guard the place until then?" I barked softly, and he laughed. "That's my boy." When he left, I watched from the window until his truck disappeared around the corner, the engine humming steadily as it rolled down the street. Then I settled in for another quiet day. Birds perched on the fence. A couple jogged past the house. A delivery truck rumbled by. The air smelled crisp from the storm, carrying the faint sweetness of wet pine needles and clean earth. Hours drifted by slowly, but even during the day, a part of me remained aware of the world's subtle tremors, signals that only I could sense. By the time the sun dipped behind the mountains again, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, I could feel something shifting. Something in the air. Something in the quiet. Dinner with Ethan was peaceful as always. He talked about the new project he'd started, a porch renovation for a family across town. He described how the wood smelled fresh, how the sunrise looked from their yard, how he needed to pick up a new batch of nails because half the ones he had were bent. I listened, enjoying the sound of his voice. After dinner, he watched a show for a while, then folded laundry, humming softly as he did. When he finally went upstairs and slipped into bed, I curled up on the rug until his breathing deepened and the rhythm of sleep took hold. And then the shift inside me awakened. My senses sharpened instantly. My hearing reached far beyond the neighborhood. My sight adjusted to the dimness, as though it were daylight. I rose quietly and walked to the window. The sky was darker tonight, heavy with unfallen rain. The clouds drifted low and thick, dimming the moonlight. The world felt different, not dangerous yet, but expectant, watchful. I nudged the door open and stepped into the cool night air. The scent of the world drifted toward me in layers: damp soil, wet bark, the faint aroma of distant fireplaces, and somewhere beneath all of it, distress, a faint tremor of fear. I followed it. Moving through the neighborhood, I kept my steps silent. Porch lights flickered. Curtains swayed softly behind closed windows. The scent led me toward the park near the edge of town, the one with the wide grassy field and the old wooden benches. The park was empty as usual at night. Humans didn't come here after dark anymore. But someone had. I reached the playground area and stopped. The scent of fear hit me stronger now. I scanned the shadows beneath the trees. That was when I saw the small shape huddled beside the slide. A tiny dog. A young golden retriever puppy with soft fur and wide, frightened eyes. She whimpered when she saw me, her tail tucked between her legs. I approached slowly. She sniffed the air, then shuffled toward me hesitantly. I nudged her gently, urging her to stand. She did, trembling. Her scent told me everything I needed to know. She was lost and alone. I guided her through the park, leading her toward the direction her scent carried most strongly. But halfway through the field, another scent drifted on the wind. A stronger one. A human. Running. Fast. I froze and listened. Footsteps pounded against the pavement near the park entrance. I guided the puppy behind me and watched the corner of the path. A moment later, a teenage white American girl, maybe 14, raced into the park. Her long blonde hair whipped behind her as she ran. Her eyes were wide with panic. She skidded to a stop when she saw me. "Scout?" she gasped, recognizing me immediately. "Oh my gosh, have you seen a puppy?" She got out when I opened the back gate. She just ran and I stepped aside, revealing the small golden retriever behind me. The girl let out a startled sob of relief. "Sasha!" She rushed forward and scooped the puppy into her arms, hugging her tightly. Sasha licked her face and wagged her tail. "Thank you," the girl whispered, tears filling her eyes. "Oh my gosh, thank you." I nudged her leg gently before turning away. The world felt calmer now that the puppy was safe, but the night was far from finished. As I reached the edge of the park, a new scent drifted toward me, sharper than before. Smoke, not from a fireplace, not from a grill, from something burning where it shouldn't. I ran. The scent led me across the street, through a cluster of tall trees and toward the small utility building near the bike path. As I approached, I saw smoke rising from the back of the building. A dim flicker of orange flashed inside one of the broken windows. Fire. Small, but growing. I pressed my nose to the crack in the door. Behind it, the fire crackled softly, spreading along the edge of an old cardboard box. The scent inside told me something else. A human. Young. Trapped. I pushed the door hard with my shoulder. It didn't budge at first. I stepped back and pushed again. Harder. The wood creaked. Smoke drifted out through the cracks. I pushed once more with all my strength. The door swung open. Inside, the small room was filled with clutter, old tools, paint cans, wooden boards. In the corner, a young white American boy, maybe 11, huddled behind a pile of boxes, coughing hard as smoke filled the air around him. His eyes were red, his voice trembling. "Help!" I ran to him. He reached out weakly. I nudged him firmly, urging him to stand. He swayed on his feet, dizzy from the smoke. I pressed my body beneath his arm to help him walk. He clung to my fur as I guided him through the haze and toward the open door. Flames crackled behind us, growing louder. Smoke thickened. I pushed him forward. He stumbled outside and collapsed on the grass, coughing violently. I stood beside him until his breathing steadied a little. "You saved me," he whispered, looking at me with wide eyes. Nearby houses lit up as neighbors spotted the smoke. Someone shouted for help. Another ran inside to call the fire department. A woman, a white American neighbor, rushed toward the boy. "Oh, thank goodness!" she cried. "Are you hurt? What happened?" He pointed weakly toward the building. "Fire. Scout." She turned her gaze toward me. "Did you get him out?" I stayed still. She shook her head in awe. "Good dog. Good dog." As people gathered around the boy and the fire department arrived minutes later, I slipped away into the shadows. There was still more of the night left, and I sensed it calling. I moved toward the woods behind the bike path. The trees loomed tall and dark, swaying slightly in the breeze. The earth beneath my paws felt cold and damp. Somewhere far beyond the trees, a sound reached me. Not a cry, not a call. A voice, a human voice, shaky, pleading. "Please, someone!" I ran. The forest grew thicker, the branches hanging low. The scent of fear rose stronger with each step. I followed it until I reached a narrow ravine. At the bottom, half hidden by brush, an older white American man lay on the ground. His face was pale, his breathing shallow. He looked up when he saw me. "Dog, help!" His leg was pinned beneath a fallen branch. I moved closer, inspecting it. The branch was heavy, but not impossible to move. I positioned myself beside it, pushing with my shoulder. It resisted at first, wedged tightly against the man's leg and a cluster of rocks. I pushed harder. The man winced, bracing himself. I pushed again. The branch lifted slightly. The man pulled his leg free just as the branch rolled to the side. He breathed out shakily. "Thank you. Thank you." He tried to stand but stumbled. I moved under his arm, steadying him as he leaned on me. Step by slow step, I helped him climb out of the ravine. I was hiking. Slipped. "Didn't have my phone," he whispered. I thought no one would find me." When we reached the trail, he sat against a tree, breathing hard. "I'll rest here," he said softly. "I'm okay now. Really. Thank you." His voice shook with relief. I nudged his hand gently before turning away. The night wasn't finished with me. As I retraced my steps toward town, a new sound rose in the distance. Soft at first, then louder. The wind picked up speed. The trees rattled. A faint vibration traveled through the ground. Something was coming. I raced toward the source. When I reached the edge of town, I saw a small white American boy, a toddler no older than 3, standing in the middle of the empty road, crying as he looked around for someone. And from down the hill, faint at first but growing louder, I heard the rumble of a truck approaching fast. Too fast. I sprinted. The boy turned when he heard my paws hitting the pavement. His eyes widened, but he didn't move. I reached him in seconds and nudged him sharply to the side. He stumbled onto the grass just as the truck roared past, unaware of what nearly happened. The boy began sobbing harder. I nudged him gently. He reached for me, tiny fingers holding onto my fur as if I were the only stable thing in the world. A porch light flicked on nearby. A woman, his mother, rushed outside. "Oh my goodness!" she cried, scooping him into her arms. "What were you doing out here?" She looked at me with disbelief. Did you save him?" I wagged my tail once before slipping away. I didn't need thanks. I didn't need recognition. I only needed to know he was safe. As I made my way home, rain began falling softly, brushing the earth with quiet drops. The world calmed again. The scent softened. The fear faded. But something else lingered in the air, a faint hum, a shift, a quiet ripple that told me the nights ahead would grow more difficult. When I returned home, Ethan was still asleep. I curled up at the foot of his bed, listening to his heartbeat, steady and calm. And somewhere in the wind outside, destiny whispered again. Quiet, but certain. My purpose was only growing stronger. The final night of my journey began the same way every night did, with Ethan settling into bed, the house growing quiet, and the breath of the world shifting just enough for me to feel the call inside my chest. But something about this night felt different from the start. Even before the shift took hold, before my senses sharpened, and the night awakened around me, I could feel the air humming with tension. The wind was restless. The clouds were heavy. The moon struggled to push through the thick blanket of gray drifting across the sky. Ethan lay on his side, sleeping peacefully as always. His soft breathing filled the room with calm, steady rhythm. I watched him for a moment longer than usual, my heart warming with the love I felt for him. He would never know the truth behind my nightly disappearances. He would never know how many lives I had touched. And he didn't need to. Ethan loved me because I was his dog in the daylight. He didn't need to know the rest. When the shift finally washed over me, it felt deeper than ever before. My senses sharpened until the world felt as clear as the brightest day. Every sound, every breath of wind, every heartbeat of the earth pulsed around me. I stood quietly and walked to the door. The moment I stepped outside, the night greeted me with a rush of scents and sounds so layered and intense that I stopped for a brief second, overwhelmed by how much was happening at once. Fear, distant, growing, something crackling. Not fire, not electricity, something heavier, something that didn't belong. I followed it. The air was colder tonight, sharper against my fur. I moved quickly through the neighborhood, weaving between houses and slipping through yards with practiced silence. Porch lights flickered behind curtains. The streets were empty. The world felt as though it was holding its breath. As I neared the end of the street, I heard the first shout. A human voice, panicked. "Help!" The voice came again, closer now. A man, fear shaking every syllable. I ran. My paws struck the pavement softly, but swiftly. The wind rushed past me. The closer I moved to the voice, the sharper the scent of fear grew. And beneath it, something metallic. Something wrong. Something that sent electricity down my spine. When I turned the corner, I saw him. A tall, white American man stood near the edge of the old bridge that marked the boundary between town and the deeper forest trails. His hand shook as he held something that glinted under the dim streetlight. A metal box, small and jagged, wires spilling from one side. He stared at it, trembling, as though he didn't know whether to hold it or throw it. "Help!" he shouted again. "Someone! Please!" I approached him carefully. His eyes widened when he saw me. "A dog?" he gasped, voice cracking. No, this can't." The metal box shook in his hands. Something inside it buzzed faintly, a sound I felt deep in my bones. The man backed up, terrified. "This wasn't supposed to happen," he whispered. "I found it in the woods. I thought it was just trash. I didn't know." The box vibrated again, this time harder. I stepped closer. The man swallowed hard. "I don't know what to do," he whispered. "I think it might explode." The night shifted in that moment. Everything inside me sharpened, focused. I assessed the box quickly with my senses. It smelled dangerous, wrong, but not unstoppable. The man looked at me with pleading eyes. "I can't leave it here," he said. His voice cracked. "But I can't bring it near anyone either." The box buzzed again, louder this time. I moved closer and nudged his leg firmly. He froze. You want to help?" he whispered. He held the box out slightly, but then hesitated. "But you're just..." He stopped himself. Maybe he saw something in my eyes, something he couldn't explain, something that made him trust me. Slowly, carefully, he knelt and placed the box on the ground. I sniffed it again. Then I nudged it with my nose. It wobbled, buzzed. I nudged harder. The man panicked. "Careful!" But I wasn't just pushing it. I was testing it, feeling how it reacted, feeling its weight, feeling the direction of whatever energy pulsed inside. The answer came to me in an instant. It needed to be far from humans, far from houses, far from the bridge, and fast. I nudged it again, hard, sending it rolling toward the edge of the woods. The man shouted, "No! Wait! What are you?" But I was already chasing after it. The box rolled down the slope and into the dense trees. I followed it, pushing it whenever it slowed. The buzzing inside grew louder, vibrating against the earth. The man chased after me, stumbling down the hill, branches scraping his arms and legs as he tried to keep up. "Dog!" he shouted breathlessly. "Come back! Stop! Please!" But I didn't stop. The wind whipped through the trees as I pushed the box deeper into the forest. The buzzing grew frantic. A faint heat radiated from the metal. I pushed again, shoving it toward the ravine where the creek ran, deep and fast, swollen by the night storms. The man reached the top of the ravine just as I nudged the box toward the edge. "Oh no, 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 we're too close," he cried. The box tilted, wobbled, buzzed violently. I shoved it with everything inside me. It tumbled down into the ravine. 1, 2, 3 hits against the rocks. Then a flash of bright white light burst from the ravine. A deep, muffled thud shook the ground. The man fell back with a cry. I lowered my head and braced myself. The flash faded. Smoke drifted upward in slow, spiraling trails. The ravine grew still again, the creek rushing loudly through the newly scorched rocks. The man scrambled down the hill toward me. You saved the whole town," he whispered, voice trembling. "If that thing went off near the bridge, or the houses..." He sat beside me, staring at the ravine with wide eyes. "How did you know?" I nudged his leg gently. He exhaled shakily and ran a hand over my head. "You're incredible," he whispered. But his eyes softened into something heavier. "You're more than a dog." I stepped back. He blinked. "I won't tell anyone," he whispered. "I promise, but thank you." His voice cracked. "Thank you." I waited until he climbed the hill and headed back toward the road, limping slightly, but safe. Then I turned deeper into the forest. The night wasn't done with me yet. I could feel it. Something else pulled at my senses, urgently, like a string tied around my heart. I ran. The forest swallowed me in its cool shadows. Each breath of wind carried a new scent. And then, another cry for help. This one, faint, weak, coming from the direction of the old river trail. I raced toward it, following the shift in the air. The trail grew narrow as I approached the riverbank. The moon broke through the clouds, illuminating a small figure clinging to a rock near the rushing water. A white American teenage boy, maybe 16, was stranded in the middle of the stream, trapped on a patch of rocks. The water surged dangerously around him, higher than it should have been from the storm runoff. "Help!" he shouted when he saw me. "Help me! Please!" He clung to the rock, legs shaking violently from the cold. Each second, the water rose further. Without hesitation, I stepped into the river. The current pushed hard against my legs, swirling cold and heavy. But I pushed forward. One step, another. The water rose up to my chest. The boy's eyes filled with desperate hope. "Please, please don't leave!" I reached him and bumped my head against his arm. He grabbed onto my fur instinctively. I turned and began leading him toward the shore. Step by slow step. The current pulled at us furiously. The boy held on tightly, teeth clenched, breath shaking. "Don't let go," he whispered desperately. I didn't. The river roared. My muscles burned, but I pushed forward. And then, we reached the bank. He collapsed on the grass, gasping for air. Thank you," he whispered. Lights flickered in the distance as his parents rushed toward him. "Oh my goodness," his mother cried. "Where were you?" His father spotted me and froze. "That's Scout," the boy nodded weakly. "He saved me." His parents stared at me with awe. "This dog," his father whispered. "He saved half the town." I slipped away before they could say more. The night was growing lighter now. Dawn was creeping close. But something inside me told me that one more task remained. One more life still needed me. I reached the edge of town just as the first hints of light touched the sky. And there, sitting alone on a bench near the old bus stop, was a familiar face. The little white American girl I had guided home weeks earlier from the woods. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. She hugged her knees, trembling in the cold morning air. When she saw me, her eyes brightened instantly. "Scout," she whispered. I had a nightmare. I tried to wake my mom, but I don't know. I ended up outside again." She pressed her forehead against mine. "I'm scared." I nudged her gently. Then she took a deep breath. "You'll walk me home?" she asked softly. I walked beside her through the quiet streets. She held onto my fur lightly as she walked. The sky brightened with each step we took. When we reached her house, the front door flew open and her mother rushed out, crying with relief. She hugged her daughter tightly, whispering, "Thank you, Scout. Thank you." I stayed just long enough to see the girl safe in her mother's arms. Then I turned toward home. My paws were tired, my mind was calm, and for the first time in many nights, I felt a sense of true completion. When I slipped back into the house, Ethan was already awake, sitting on the edge of the bed with concern etched across his face. "Scout," he whispered, standing quickly. "Where have you been? You were gone again. I worry about you." I walked to him and pressed my head against his chest. His arms wrapped around me tightly. "I don't know why you keep disappearing," he whispered into my fur. "But I'm just glad you always come home." He ran a hand down my back in slow, loving strokes. "You're the best thing that's ever happened to me, Scout." I lifted my head and looked into his eyes. There was no need for words. There never had been. I curled up beside him as morning sunlight spread across the room, warming everything it touched. The world outside was safe. The night's burdens had faded. And though Ethan would never know the full truth, he knew the only part that mattered. I belonged with him, and he with me. As he stroked my fur softly, he whispered, "You're my hero, Scout." And for the first time in a long, long while, I let myself rest, truly rest, knowing my purpose had been fulfilled, and knowing Ethan would always have me by his side. The night no longer called with urgency. The world was safe, and I was home.